just is what it is. But here we are in this moment. And like I said a minute ago, I feared that at the very beginning, that pushing everybody online and pushing all of us to get used to the kids doing online work, that it might move us in that direction. I'm feeling less concerned at this point. And here to share some thoughts on where we are, I've asked Christine Vaccaro to come talk with us. She's a New York City high school teacher. She's written the piece, Remote Teaching Isn't Even Remotely Teaching. You can see that at badassteacher.org. Christine, thanks for taking time for us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
So it's not teaching at all, you don't think? There's nothing there?
It really doesn't feel like the same job at all. We have, at our school, we have a situation where we have some online meeting that's happening, and we have some pre-recorded lessons happening, and everybody's kind of doing a mix of different things. But the actual fundamental part of teaching, which is really the connection with the kids, is largely missing from the whole thing.
Right, but isn't that the whole cyber thing anyway? It's really not about the art of teaching it's about having this program that walks you through the curriculum, and maybe you'll have a teacher to answer a question. I mean, isn't that the whole setup anyway?
I mean, if you're talking about what it is as a setup, yes. Is that what education is or should be? The answer is no.
No, I know. This is what I'm saying. I mean, because I'm sold on this. People are telling me that, well, cyber charter schools are just as good as regular schools. And I'm going, no, I've taken online classes before. They're not even close.
No, I mean, one of the things that we're finding that is most troubling is it's completely exacerbating the inequalities in education. You have the most vulnerable students getting the most affected. Our socioeconomic students, disadvantaged students that don't have the same support systems in place that students coming from better backgrounds have. They may have a laptop, but they don't necessarily have somebody there to help make sure that they're doing the work that they need to do. They may be babysitting siblings. They may be doing other, they may not have the Wi-Fi. They may not have the opportunities that students from more advantaged backgrounds have. The special education students, there's nobody there to be giving the one-on-one promptings and the directions read aloud or the refocusing that their federally mandated IEPs state that they require. And then, of course, we have a number of English language learners who they hit the trifecta. They're all three of those things in many cases. And they're not having an opportunity to succeed or access the curriculum.
So wouldn't that be, I know my reopen friends are saying, well, this is why we need to reopen schools, Christine.
Well, that would be great. We all would love that to happen. But we also don't want to be in an unsafe environment. And that's a problem, especially in New York City. We closed later than we should have. Us teachers had to go back for a few days extra. It's not a safe place to return to right now. And the fact that we're sort of already pivoting towards how are we going to reimagine the schools in New York, as Governor Cuomo was talking about, into more technologically leaning schools, and not focusing on how are we going to get back to a safer environment that's going to help the students learn in a brick and mortar setting with the teachers is particularly troubling.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, though. Teachers have never been more popular than they are right now because, you've got parents like my wife and I who are going, this is a lot of work. I've known that for a while.
Right.
I've known it for a while that, this isn't a profession I wanted to do.
Sure.
I can't imagine standing in front of a classroom of 30, 40, 50 kids when I struggle with just my 3.
Well, I think that's part of the thing that was at the beginning of this anyway, kind of a silver lining is that people were sort of getting a peek behind the curtain a little bit and seeing what is the actual job of a teacher. As I wrote in my blog piece, it's not about teaching a kid the multiplication tables. It's about the patience that a teacher has to be able to sort of help that kid the 5th and 6th time just still getting it wrong. So that has definitely been kind of a thing. It's a little bit of a cruel irony that we're finally sort of getting this recognition at a time that now we're looking at, okay, how can we get rid of more teachers and get the online thing going further?
Yeah, see, now that was my fear from the beginning, and
Yeah,
maybe you'll
exactly.
disagree with me. My fear right from the start was this is going to be that cracking the door open to where
Yeah,
now we're going to be moving in, kids into this stuff. But there's part of me that's looking around at my friends and people that I know who have kids who are not at all interested and want this at all. So for
right.
me, there's an opportunity to build off of that and say, no, we don't need to do more technological stuff. We need to do more teacher in front of the classroom, hands-on, face-to-face stuff.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. I mean, I think the idea of reimagining is great. And I think we have a huge opportunity here, right? But the problem is that I think innovation often gets conflated with technology. And we have an opportunity here to innovate, but the innovation needs to come more from a social emotional perspective. I think we talk about putting social emotional learning into a curriculum, but it's a lot of lip service. And if we really want to be serious about innovating, that's where we have to start. We have to really start with how do we address the holistic needs of a child and access their true innate curiosity, creativity, and their desire to learn.
Yeah, see, I talk for myself. I've always been an experiential learner. I can get my hands
Right.
dirty.
Yep.
If I can delve into it and actually do it, I learn it a lot better than sitting and listening
Totally.
to someone tell me about it. And this is where the charter school idea at the very beginning, 20, 30 years ago, sounded like a great idea. We're going to try some different things.
Sure.
We're going to share best practices. But really, what it's turned into is, we've created an education industry where a couple of big companies are making a huge amount of money, and that money's not going into the classrooms, especially into our most disadvantaged classrooms. And that to me is a
Absolutely.
huge problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the whole idea of remote learning, by taking this moment and leveraging the whole online remote learning, it's a jackpot for the billionaires, the vulture capitalists, as they're called, politicians. You get rid of teacher salaries, right? We don't have to worry about the pesky pensions and the teacher salaries. You get unqualified people to just sort of be tech support, deal with the emails. Half of the job, by the way, of remote teaching is emailing students back and forth and parents and everything like that. You now have to sell curriculum. You now have to hire ed tech companies and tech consultants. And then, there's the bonus of real estate. Schools are often our very valuable real estate. So there's so many different places where money can be made. And as you said, none of it's going where it belongs in the classroom, and especially not the disadvantaged classrooms.
Yeah, I mean, for me early on, it was my view that the whole charter movement and the whole, destroy public education, really, what it is let's destroy public education, came about because a lot of parents were against mainstreaming. They were against busing. They were against,
Right.
a lot of these things that were going to make education a little more equal. So they wanted to make their own thing. And
Yeah.
now it's turned into, not just, doing away with mainstreaming and doing away with desegregation. It's now about huge amounts of profit. Some of these trolls I get who come at me, they've all got connections to these big companies where everybody seems on somebody's payroll.
Right. Absolutely. And again, who is getting the run of the whole thing? And that's kids.
Yep.
That's
And that's
kids.
the sad thing. So let me ask you, last line of questioning I've got, because my thought in this is there's a moment where parents are listening. There's a moment where voters are listening. There's a moment where I think we're open to some ideas. So we're going to be offered this idea of, hey, we're going to move things online and we're going to streamline it. It's going to be better. What's the alternative offer? What should we be pushing? What's the point that you want folks to walk away with?
I mean, I think the most important thing in all of this, because as you said, there's going to be people lining up with different ways to try to figure this out. The most important thing is ask teachers, ask parents, ask kids what works. What works? How can we make this better? With those voices not part of the conversation, you're not going to get anywhere. I think that ultimately what would be really important is to be considering, again, the social emotional piece in terms of how are we looking at the whole child? How are we dealing with the education of this child and not a commodity that is being used for some kind of a corporate benefit?
So you don't think a billionaire who, who's our Secretary of Education, you don't think she's really got her thumb on
Oh,
the pulse of what my kids think of this
oh,
crummy online stuff?
oh my gosh! Please don't even get me started on her. No, 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 I do not.
Okay, I just wanted to get that because you said you want the teachers, the parents, and the kids. I'll tell you, my kids hate it.
Yeah.
And my youngest daughter was going, hey, when can I come back to school?
Can I ask why? What is it about it that they hate so much? Your children?
It's the interaction, it's the socialization, it's the learning together. At least my youngest, she was the one who articulated it.
Okay.
She's a helper. So she's the one who likes
Okay.
she's the one who likes to show other kids how to do things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's that one.
Yeah.
But that's what she misses. She misses that interaction and then that that camaraderie that you don't get looking at a screen.
Absolutely. I poll my students a lot. I did it in real life too, but I do it. I do it now just to really because I can't get a pulse on. I don't see their faces. I don't, know exactly what's going on. And I ask them a lot about this experience. And so many of them, first of all, I would say 95% of them say that they wish they were back in school and they can't believe how much they miss it. And for many of them, the lack of the sort of not having that structure and routine has been really upending for them, especially during this moment of crisis. There's so many supports that are embedded within the school day that I think we're really starting to look at more in a more nuanced way. Yes, the teacher interaction. Yes, those sort of social identities like you're describing with your daughter. That's such an important and intrinsic part of the education process, and they're missing that as well.
Yeah. I'm hoping things get somewhere back to some normal, but I'm hoping we move in a much better direction and have a new normal, a new better normal.
Yes, I completely agree.
But I appreciate the work that you've done. I hope folks will take a look at it. Remote Teaching Isn't Even Remotely Teaching, written by Christine Vaccaro. We'll get links out on how folks can take a look at that over at the badassteachers.org site. Christine, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Oh, it was an honor, Rick. Thank you so much.
Good stuff as always. Let's take a quick break. Right back.